Okay, cool. Please, everybody, allow me to welcome you to our final session for today, which is our industrial or laser processing in an industrial environment. Let me first enter my colleague Jamie, who's coming at us from our Yates showroom. You are muted, my friend.
There we go. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Jamie. You've been back in your own showroom today. Johnny obviously kicked you out for drinking too much tea from Loughborough.
Yeah, back in the southwest today. So, fingers crossed.
And we've got our very special guest, Brian, who is joining us today from JPS. Welcome, Brian. Thank you for coming in. Sorry for the delay.
Good afternoon to you guys. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Good.
Afternoon, Brian.
Hi, Jamie.
Perfect for you guys being here. So if you guys out there who are watching, they can catch our session that we did with Hannah Nunn the other day. It's going to be a very similar format. We're going to find out all about Brian and his business. We do this time have a small presentation. Don't worry, not death by PowerPoint. We're going to be finding all about how Brian got into lasering, his experience, and obviously how he's coped during the current pandemic. So if you give me 1 second to share my screen, I will load the PowerPoint. Like I say, do not worry, it is very short. So here we go, laser processing in the industrial market. Now, the first, like I say, we're going to go through Brian's business, get an overview of it, the different machines he uses, including why he uses a laser and why he's invested in a Trotec. Then we'll go into everybody's favorite topic, which is, of course, COVID-19. You can't go a day without hearing about it, unfortunately. And then at the end, we're going to have 10 minutes for Q&A with you guys. So please drop your questions in the chat. If you've got anything for Brian, please ask him, and Jamie as well. We can answer all of your laser-related questions. But in the meantime, if you guys are ready, shall we kick off?
Absolutely, mate. It's far away.
No problem. So the first thing we're going to do, Brian, is obviously we've got a great quote here from your website. We're a people business. We just happen to make labels. So, how did you obviously, it's the key focus of your business being so customer centric. So can you tell us about how you obviously got started on your journey and how you arrived to the point you are now?
Well, I guess it all started before I had a laser, when I was in the wholesale jewelry business for my sins, and realized one day that gold and silver bullion jewelry, which I was in, was not going to be as popular as it once had been, because costume jewelry was coming out. It was very, very good. And through that process, realized that one could make very, very nice products look exceptional for a lot less money. Now, I'm not comparing bullion and costume jewelry. I'm comparing the perception of it. And I think today that has been proven out, because people buy outfits to mix and match. Ladies do anyway. I don't know about you guys. I'm in the wrong age group for that. But people will buy jewelry, handbags, shoes, t-shirts, earrings, all to go together, just to wear as a particular, to make themselves look and feel good. And I realized then that, you're going to need to be switched on and be able to get out of the trough or the niche that you're in and stay with it. Now, this is going back, maybe 4 decades ago. So, perhaps you guys weren't around then. But through the wholesale jewelry business, we got into corporate gifts. And that was where we learned the quality of presentation. And with that presentation, we also had to personalize. So we started off with the old, bless them, the old gravograph, pantograph machines, clunk and click and drop hundreds and hundreds of characters, brass template characters on the floor. And how annoying that was when you had to reset them back into the alphabet tray. So it goes to show just how far we've moved in, just somebody's relatively short lifetime, to now it all just happens at a keyboard. And from the personalization and corporate gifts at the level we were in, we were dealing with some nice companies, American Express, UPS, General Electric. It suddenly became a dirty word. And Christmas gifts were then high on the Chancellor's list, and everybody kind of started to go, whoa, 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 we need to be careful here. And we got into a particular customer said to me, if you're doing that, can you make me some labels for our businesses as opposed to actually just giving corporate gifts away to people? Well, never being shy to say no, I said to him, yes, of course we can. And that was what led me into realizing that trying to do this with rotary cutting was not ever going to make me any money. So I looked around and found that lasers were just, really quite early in their day. And I was in Bristol at the time and found that there was a business in Bristol that was marketing laser engraving and cutting machines. So went over and had words and ended up talking to a Mr. Jata. Now, this is not the Mr. Jata that you know. The Mr. Jata that you know wasn't quite in short pants at that point in time, but it was his father. Stephen, lovely man, absolutely lovely man. And I bought my first and second, and I think perhaps third laser off of Stephen. This is pre the Trotec knowledge that we now all have. But the machines that we bought were good. They were built like battleships. It would take an army of people to lift them. They were nothing like as fast as they are now. The software wasn't as good, but compared to pantograph type or rotary engraving, it was like a different world, a totally different world. And you could use far more easily so many more different substrates. So you could open your market up very much more than with the rotary. You didn't have to go and resharpen a cutter and change the angles of it. And it was just so much more interesting and so much, it was like being reborn almost within that market. And from that, we developed into more and more people as we got to know them and doing more and more labeling. We were still doing some corporate gifts, but that was getting smaller and smaller. And we were still doing some sports trophies. But one of the problems with online selling that we now all have at our fingertips, this was in the early days of it, there was an awful lot of product being put up there that didn't have the quality that people were used to when they could get hold of something, come and see you, and people were finding out that it was very, very cheap to be able to produce something that wasn't very good, and you could sell it in some volume for a while. Now, that wasn't a market that we wanted to be in. We wanted to still, I'm old school. If I wouldn't buy it, then I don't sell it. It is as simple as that. Now, I'm not saying the people that work differently to that are wrong, but I know which camp I want to be in, and it's kept us going for a number of decades, and it's kept us going through COVID because we're still working, albeit on a reduced team force, but we're still working, I'm pleased to say. But what I have learned is as we've got more into it, we've had to become more sophisticated as a business. Any fool can buy a piece of equipment, get it on a lease, pay a small amount of money to get started, find somebody who wants to buy X, Y, or Z, and think that they've got a business. Now, we all thought that at the start, but in reality, that isn't having a business. As Trotec well know, you're in what, 90 odd countries with 700 plus staff? Ask your FD what running a business is about. It's knowing your costs. And the thing that I think a lot of people don't spend enough time on, particularly when they buy their first machines, is working out what their cost base really is. And you see an awful lot of inexpensive type of work out there. And I'll have people say to me, well, Brian, yeah, you're close on price, but you're a bit more expensive. I say, yeah, so? And it's down to what car you want to drive. I like to drive a nice car, so I'm prepared to pay a little bit more for it. If somebody wants the right package, there is more to a package than just, in our case, a label. What backup are you going to get? And I refer to Trotec. Your backup is brilliant. So, you know, we have the same psychology, but you're a great big international global corporate. We're just a very small unit down in the beautiful Cotswolds. I will say that, but we've had to learn to be a switched on business. And I would say to anybody that's getting into this business or has been in it a little while, spend time working out and getting to know what your cost base is and know how much an hour it costs you, whether you're working or whether you're not, to run your business. And then when you do that, you will be able to stay in business. If you choose to cut your price, know where the bone is before you start to cut. A lot of people that I have met over the years don't know those points. And then once you've got your cost base right, if you get into that thought process, then there is the way you present your products. I would say to you that when we ship products, and bearing in mind that we supply to the electrical mechanical industry, the HVAC, so in other words, we're supplying to people that build buildings, refurbish buildings. That can be anything from multi-story office blocks, hospitals, shops, garages, etc., etc. We're primarily dealing with project managers, project engineers, and on a very, very busy site, product will get delivered to a post room or a particular area. And we even make sure that time after time after every package that goes out is packed in the same way, so that the guys, our recipient customers, know they will recognize one of our parcels on the floor or on a rack of 30, 50 or 100 other parcels, because we want to make life easy for them. I wouldn't want to go through a rack of 50 parcels to find one that's got 20 labels in, 2,000 labels in, and waste time doing that. If I had a supplier that made it easy for me, that's the supplier that I start to value. But these things will take a little bit more time and therefore cost a little bit more money. But the thing it really costs is the right psychology to want to get it right. Now, I know a lot of people do this, but a lot of people don't. And I can tell that by the amount of stuff that we get delivered here, that you don't know who it's from. You've got to open it and see. If you know, it could be anything in that box. If you know where, excuse me, if you know where it's coming from, then that's probably the one you're going to open first. That's human nature. That's the psychology of it. So they're just some of the little things that we do to try and make our customers' life a better journey with JPS.
I think
Something else that I've learned, and if I'm going on too much, guys, please tell me. I'm just talking about the things that I've learned, all of which come back to, in real terms, I match my purchases to the psychology of the business. Need I say more? I bought a Trotec, my last machine, because we'll come on to that in a moment. But people will pay a little bit more to have the right package. If I go onto a website and I'm looking for something and I can't find a phone number to be able to talk to somebody, I might not want to talk to them now, but what happens if I have a problem? I'll probably click off of that website. Now, you guys in your generation may not do that, but I want to know that I've got a bit of a safety net somewhere if I need to talk to a human being, because silver headgear, I'm of a generation where I think I'd started probably the second avenue of my business before we had a computer in it. When I was at school, it was, slide rules and calculators. They came way later. So I'm not the most tech savvy person to be able to quickly run through software. But I do know what makes a business tick, and I do know what values to look for in a business. And I have still pretty much got the same set of suppliers that I've had for 10 years plus, because I build relationships. Business is about doing people with business. If you want to build a business that one day is worth something, and when I say worth something, that to me means 2 or more people are going to want to buy it. Because why else would I be here? It's at some point in time, I'm going to sell this, and somebody will say, ready-made business, that's nice. I can take it to the next stage. And I will hopefully look back and be able to watch them do that. Now, is this the sort of thing that you wanted to know, guys?
No, Brian, it's great. You know what it is? It backs up what you've got on your website. We've just seen flash up there some of the great testimonials you've had, and it's exactly what you've said. You make sure everything down to delivery is spot on, and it really reinforces why your customers are repeat customers. And as we can see in this great slide Jamie's prepared, you have your personal phone and your email address on the website, so you are there. You're the contact if people actually need to come and ask you a question, which is a great personal touch to have.
And surprisingly, it doesn't happen very much out after 5 o'clock in the evening, because I guess they want to clock off as well. But they do know that if there is a problem and if they're stuck, they can ring me. I might not have the answer, but I'll say, look, let's talk at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we will get it sorted. And all that guy wants to know is that somebody's sharing his pinch point, isn't it? And helping him with his problem when he puts his head on the pillar, because all of our customers are working to the deadline. We really are the fish's tail. The building, they've been on a multi-story building for 18 months, 2 years. They're coming off in a month's time, and somebody said, we've got snagging on the labeling. Oh my goodness, got to have it here for Friday. And it's now Wednesday afternoon. And if you knew how often that happens, and these are very qualified, very well-educated people, but life is life, and you have to get to know people that can get you out of trouble when you want it. And a lot of our business has come about, A, because the quality of the product's right, A, because the quality and the price of the package is right, but they also have the safe pair of hands aspect to it, that, I'll give Brian a ring, he'll sort it.
I was actually going to say, Brian, sorry to interrupt, we have a question come in about your customers from Barry. Brian, how do you find your customers? Like you say, you've obviously got a lot of repeat ones, so.
Well, with new customers, I'm just spending money on having the website SEO'd to be able to enter this wonderful new world of, you've got to be hip, you've got to be click, you've got to be whatever. This is what I do, guys. I pick up the phone and I talk to people. I've got a very, very good connection on LinkedIn. I've got something, I think, approaching 2,000 that are all people that I won't say I talk to terribly often, but at various times through their life and through my life in business, we have met up, we've done business, we've spoken, we've exchanged, and we're now on LinkedIn. Now, we have won a lot of business where when a project manager comes to the end of a project, and in some cases, these guys can walk off of this feeling like a piece of chewed string, senior project manager, senior project director, and they'll have a couple of months off, and they'll maybe go and work for another large engineering company that's doing another project, something different, change of company. And we win a lot of business when that project manager gets into the project and finds that the labeling and the signage, the small signage that they've got on site isn't what he considers up to scratch and isn't what he's had before. And I will get a phone call, Brian, talk to so-and-so, get onto the procurement list, get to someone, send me some samples. Can I have my logo on it? Can we have the same sort of arrangement? And let's see if we can do some more business. Now, that doesn't happen in a fortnight. It takes years and years to do it. And there's times when people will ring me up and say, Brian, I've lost 2 labels. It's not often people are honest with you. They say, oh, you missed 2 labels out. And I'll say to them, I bet we didn't, because our system is such that, I'm not saying we couldn't, but the system is such that it very, very rarely happens. Now, if you're saying to me, the trainee or the apprentice or somebody has probably dropped them and lost them, will you put me 2 in the post tonight, Brian, with your compliments? The answer will be yes. Where do you want them sent? Do you want them sent to site so they get lost? Or do you want them sent to your home address so they're there for when you get home tomorrow night, you can put them in your pocket and take it in and nobody knows any wiser? And they're the sort of things that we do, because if one of my customers told me, I won't name them, they're a big multinational, it cost them 80 quid to raise an order. In real terms, that's what it costs them to raise an order. And they want 2 labels because somebody's lost them. Now, what kind of idiot am I going to be to say to him, well, the cost of the labels is minimum charge 15 quid, say, but it's going to cost you 80 quid to do it. What's it going to cost me to raise an invoice? I mean, I'm nothing like as big as them, but say it was 10 or 12 quid. We've got 10 quid's worth of merchandise, and between us, it's cost us over 100 quid to do it. Just be a nice guy. No problem. I'll get them done for you tonight. They'll be out in first class post. And the other things that we do, a lot of the parcels that we send out, either I or one of the team will just take a picture of it on their phone, email it out and say, see you tomorrow. I'm on my way. So they know that JPS has done what JPS said they were going to do. They'll still ring me when the carrier delivers late, because that's human nature. And it's the sort of service and package that we've put together to make it worthwhile. So therefore, for me to be able to do all of that, I'm sorry I'm talking about JPS so much here, I have to have suppliers around me that can back up the kind of service that I've got to put out there. And the thing that I like so much about Trotec is the knowledge base that you've got. I rang Matt yesterday on in up where you are, James, and
Yes.
said to him, look, I'm a little bit monkey see, monkey do. That's how I learn to do things. I get in there and I work with it. Have you got links to a YouTube on Ruby? And the answer is no at the moment. And I said to him, well, I went down this avenue first and asked you because I think Canada have done a tremendous job for Trotec. You know, if I want to know something, first of all, I'll probably go and look on Trotec Canada because I found so many answers there. I'm pleased to say that Trotec UK are following this, and I'm delighted that they are. And it would be nice if you were doing something perhaps a little bit different in some way. But there is such a volume of knowledge that you have in your business that you're happy to share with people. And by you sharing means that we can pick up. Now, again, when I get a new piece of material in, the first thing I will do is spend a lot of time running that piece of material. I say a lot of time. I will take time to run 10 or 15 different settings across it to find out how I want to use it for various applications. And then I'll put down the power and the speed and the settings and save it. And I'll just put that in a notebook somewhere. Now, maybe the modern way is to take a screenshot of it and do whatever. But if I want to feel how deep a piece of wood is that I engraved at X, Y, and Z, I know each piece of timber is different. But if I want to do something similar again, I've got a drawer full of bits that I can go and just pull these out and think, that was what I did. And with the kind of backup that I can get from you guys, then I feel safe to be able to go forward. And we started another business last year, which is going to take a couple of years to get off the ground, a gifts business, because everything we do at the moment goes out on credit. And what I wanted to do was to start a business that gave cash flow and revenue at checkout, as opposed to 30, 60, 90 days credit. And it's going to take a couple of years to build this up. And at the moment, we're to some degree following the herd with what's going on. But we are in the process of having found a couple of niche markets that we want to get into. We are prototyping products that people will, instead of thinking, oh, that's a £5 product, because people have a psychological hook to the price of something when they're looking at it. When we've developed these products and I say to somebody, oh, that's 300 quid, it's okay, because it looks 300 quid worth. And it is bespoke, and it is different, and it is associated with a weakness that they have in their life, a love of theirs, a hobby, a something. I'm not going to say any more than that at this stage, but in the second half of this year, those products will start to appear on our site, and it will be very, very different to what we're doing at the moment. One thing that I will say, I watched Hannah's, it was Hannah, wasn't it, the other day that did the craft?
Yeah,
it was Hannah indeed. Brian, I was actually, sorry, before we continue, we've got a few questions coming. I think we can actually, sorry, obviously we were going to do these at the end, but we've got a couple here which are quite good, which actually tie into kind of some of the stuff in the presentation. So Barry again has asked, do you just engrave labels? Now we've already shown you gift section side, and I'm going to quickly share the PowerPoint because it's the last real slide we have that isn't obviously ask your questions. So give me 1 second. We can see here that you've got three different laser machines there. You've got your Speedy 300, which again, obviously, as you said, Hannah has as well. And you've got some printing technology and your two other laser machines there. So can you tell us just a little bit about them, obviously how you use them, and obviously the print and cut side that you're looking to expand?
Yeah, we also print vinyl labeling up to everything we do pretty much stays A3 and below, whether that's engraved or whether it's vinyl. We don't get into banners and flags and that sort of thing. We've got two vinyl printing machines, which are Roland, and we've got a Roland UV machine. Now, I had the camera accessory fitted to the Speedy 300 because we are again developing a range of product where we will print and cut. And you can get some, if you spend a bit of time creating your artwork in such a way and you prototype properly, you can get some very, very good results and cut very close to the edge of what you print. Obviously you bleed, but there are times when bleeding doesn't work on certain jobs, but just trust me, spend time on your artwork to get it right, because it's just another factor of the business. I mean, if you look, one of your colleagues was talking earlier about extraction. I mean, just look at the extraction that we've got in. Every machine has got its own vent pipe with a fan in it at workshop level, which goes up into above the tiles with another fan blowing it into a filter box before it goes to air. We don't go home with a cough at the end of the day, and we keep the place clean and tidy, and all of our machines are cleaned every night before we go home and serviced regularly. And with lasers, the things that you've got to look after are your lenses and your mirrors. Now, people say, "Oh, I'll clean the lens and the mirrors once a week." Well, it doesn't work for us. It might work for them, but it doesn't work for us. Ours get cleaned every morning, and the reason we pick the morning as opposed to the evening, in the morning we're going to start working the machine. If we clean it in the evening and come in and fire the machine up in the morning, and the first thing we do is put the ventilation on, which moves the dust and any residue around within the machine, drops on them. Something will drop on the mirror, something will drop on the lens. You fire it up. If it's in the wrong place, hits that piece of residue, burns the surface of the mirror, burns the surface of the lens. Clean it in the morning before you're going to start using it. And if we're doing a lot of cutting into particularly white-black material, your standard engraving laminate for the majority of the labels, then you get a fair bit of residue. So we'll clean it 2 or 3 times through the day.
I was going to say, especially when you're doing things like laminate labels there, Brian, it's obviously we're saying some people might only be doing very fine materials, don't need a lot of cleaning, but if you're doing stuff like constantly engraving labels, big build up there. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Barry's asked about your engraving business and he missed what the slide was, so I'm just going to go back. It is mybespokegifts.com, Barry. That's where all Brian's gifts are, so you can check that out. And we do apparently appear to be coming towards the end of our session, guys. Unfortunately, we've got covered a lot there, so I'm just going to say, if there's any more questions, guys, pop them in the live chat while we still have Brian. But in the meantime, I think one of the key things, Brian, you were going to say about Hannah and obviously her laser very quickly, and how you use the same laser for different applications.
Yeah, it's interesting how we all look at a machine and we see what we can do with it, and we only use a fraction of the capability of the machine for our particular businesses. But put all those slices together and you've got a great cake. One of the things that came across to me from Hannah was her enthusiasm for her business, and I thought, absolutely brilliant. And I'm looking forward to getting back to doing the range of new products for the second half of this year that will, you can't get terribly excited about labels. What you can get excited about is doing the job properly. With the craft and more bespoke stuff, you can put, perhaps, if I say, more emotion into it, then, which is what came across from Hannah. So I'm actually looking forward to, moving it back into that as well as the label side as part of our growth strategy.
Absolutely, and that's why you did indeed invest, as Mr. Wakefield will attest to, why you invested in your Speedy 300, isn't it? So you can go more into that side of the business.
Absolutely, and if we get it right, by this time next year, then we'll probably need another one.
Be ready, Jamie.
Yeah, it's that's almost the landmark as to whether we've got it right. We're not quite in control of this year, as none of us are, but what I will say, guys, is it's yours to lose. You're doing it right. Just keep doing it right. From my point of view, from somebody that's been in the business for quite a long while, and I'm sorry that I spouted on, but I chose Trotec rather than Trotec choosing me, and I'm glad I did.
Fantastic, Brian. Thank you very much, Brian. It's been brilliant today. Just to listen to everything you go through. It's the little things that you go through in business, and I could vouch for it as well from yourself. It's the little things that really matter, and that building a rapport. And like I said, I can vouch for yourself. You've given myself a gift for my son on his birthday just after we installed your Speedy 300. And it's the little things like that really go a long way. And you've built your history, you've built your rapport with people. As you said, Mr. Jata Senior, and then obviously the latter with Mr. Jata Junior, who will be joining us shortly, I'm sure.
Very, very shortly. In fact, shall I bring him in?
You can bring him in. Let's get him on screen. I'm sure he'll be happy to talk.
Welcome, Mr. Jata.
Always happy to talk. You know that. Good afternoon, Brian, and thank you ever so much for joining us for our last session of what has been a very busy 3 days.
Absolutely.
There is just one thing I would say to end on, if I may, just a couple of quick sentences. Somebody said to me, Brian, who are your biggest competitors? Who do you fear most? And I thought about this for a minute, and I said to them, McDonald's and Amazon. And that was exactly the reaction that I got. You all went, what? They don't make labels. Let me tell you what they give you. They give you a level of expectation. You know what you're going to get. And that's what we've all got to strive to try and get to. Let your customers know before they think about going anywhere else what they're going to get from you.
I'll be honest, I buy more McDonald's than I do labels, so I can see where you're coming from, Brian.
I think it shows a little bit.
I'll clean them up for you, Brian.
Bless you.
Thanks, Brian. That's a lovely way to end the week, isn't it? Some good advice for us.
Thank you very much. Take care, Brian.
That was great. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.